It's time for Football at 4 with Adam Caplan.
I have real confidence that our football operations can once again create a dominant football team.
Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. It's Football at 4.
All right, Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, and it is brought to you this hour by PropSwap. America buys and sells the best odds in the country at PropSwap.com. Adam Caplan is in the house today for today's edition of Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. And we got so much to dissect. He last joined us on Friday. Since then, the Eagles, of course, have finished their draft. And now what is next in the roster building? By the way, Adam, we just found out the OTAs and minicamp dates in which the Eagles will be out. So we're going to have some football here in like next week. It's going to feel like the season again.
Yeah, good. Mike, good to talk to you. Yeah, well, but again, we'll see who shows up and doesn't show up. That's going to be the challenge there. But, yeah, look, I'm just hoping I could have a training camp tour. I hope to get to see the players on the field. Last year was tough, not being able to get to camps. You know, we were able to see the Eagles, but I like to see the whole country. I cover 30 teams, not just one. But looking locally at the Eagles here, it was certainly, if you look at the overview, the draft was certainly interesting. There's no question. We'll talk about the trade up for Smith. They didn't draft a quarterback. Boy, I thought they would. I thought for sure not at one, but I thought before the end of the draft they would draft a quarterback. They didn't do that. They only drafted the one cornerback. They did draft 6 defensive players. I thought at least 2 outside corners. They only drafted 1. It was. I think overall the draft was good, but some of the things they did I was not expecting.
Well, I mean, does the message there of what they ended up with and what they didn't get truly say they stuck to their board?
Yes, that's part of it, Mike. Although I would argue Milton Williams was not the pick there. I would say this. Milton Williams was a guy they liked a lot. The coaches did. No doubt, Tracy Rocker, I'm told, the D-line coach, the new D-line coach, was instrumental in his grade and them wanting him. I get it. He was one of 3 players they were looking at. But that was, and also analytics was part of that pick, I believe, based on the workout numbers, which were incredible. But there's some challenges with him. Arm length is not what you want at D-tackle. But as we outlined on Inside the Birds, Mike, they're running a front where the guys are going to be active in the D-line, where they're not always line up in one place. So we'll see how that works out. But, yeah, I would say to summarize it, yes, I think for the most part, the general manager stuck to the board, which he didn't do totally, as we know, the previous 2 years. And I just found it really interesting that he never denied anything that was in the Athletic article. He talked at least twice about these scouts and our guys work 9 months of the year on these players and sticking to the board. I just thought that was interesting that he talked about that, which would be basically admitting that I'm aware it's out there. And he didn't even try to – you notice, like, he's not even trying to fight the information that's out there anymore. It's futile because anyone who covers the team closely knows exactly what's happened the last couple of years.
Yeah, so very interesting. You know, they go from 6 back to 12. They move up to 10. So take us inside a little bit, Adam, the reasoning they decided to make that jump up to 10 and why Smith was the guy. Because the way it sounds anyway is that Smith was the guy even over the 2 corners.
I was going to get to that. So my understanding is, Mike, that Smith was the higher graded player on their – like they have the horizontal and the vertical board. Well, the board where it's just an overall grade, okay, where they probably had only 17 players graded as a first-round pick, somewhere in that area. I do believe that Smith was graded higher than the corners. Now, definitely over Horn. I know other teams had Horn above Surtain. I know the Panthers did, and I could probably tell you 7 or 8 teams that did. But the Eagles did not. They had Surtain, I'm told, over Horn. And their overall number grade, regardless of position, yes, they had Smith over those 2 players. It's subjective. I understand, like, and I'm sure it's very close between the 2 players. But a couple of the teams that the general manager called, Howie Roseman, they were told it was an offensive player. That's what happens when you call up. They ask what position you're trading up for. They don't tell you the player. There's no way they would tell you the player. But actually, did you hear what Roseman said? He actually said that Carolina, when they made the trade, where the Eagles get a 5th rounder, they were giving up 2 picks for this year. I think Howie said he asked the Carolina GM what position you're going to take. How about that?
Yeah,
so that backs up what I just told you. I forgot about that. He did that interview locally in Philly. But I thought that was really revealing, and that does go on. That's a little bit inside football stuff for you.
Yeah, and so they make the trade to go from 12 to 10. They give up a 3rd-round pick in this year's draft. They do it, Adam. The one thing that I think we all kind of thought was not going to happen was by dealing inside the division with the Dallas Cowboys. But it was almost like a little 3-team struggle there between the NFC East teams.
Yeah, and the other thing was I had reported before the draft, and I actually said this on our pre-draft show with Jeff Mosher and Greg Cosell. I said I'm pretty certain 2 corners are going to go within the top 10. I know people don't believe it, but it's going to happen. Now, I didn't know it was going to be Denver, the second one. I knew Carolina was going with Horn. I did not know that Denver would pass on Justin Fields. That floored me. I know Surtain's going to be a good football player. Now, and of course, it's led to speculation that they'll be in on Aaron Rodgers, which I think will wind up being real come August if the Packers are willing to trade him. I do believe that'll wind up happening, that they'll get involved with it. But right now, that Aaron Rodgers situation is just being monitored around the National Football League.
Which would bring us to why not a quarterback for Philadelphia, because they trade up to 10. And I literally, Adam, felt when they made that trade to 10, I said, they're going to take Fields here. They didn't take Fields at 10, but they didn't take one at all. Now, it's being reported that Jamie Newman is one of the undrafted guys that they're going to bring in, but they did not draft a quarterback.
No, as a matter of fact, the crazy thing was we got the list on Monday, but they were not confirmed because I don't know if you know this, Mike, almost every team loses a player that had agreed to an undrafted free agent deal. It just happens every year. It's really odd. Agents will announce on Twitter a guy's going somewhere, and then the agent will delete it. Or the guy will wind up taking a little bit more money and a signing bonus with another team. So we generally wait till these are all official. But getting back to the draft, I was really surprised. A couple things surprised me. That they waited until the 4th round to draft a corner, and I understand why. I do believe they were split on the guys in the 2nd or 3rd round. They just couldn't come to a consensus on which guy would be best for the scheme. And then McPherson is a inside-outside corner who's a pretty sharp kid. Transfer from Penn State, who will play on the outside, as I understand it, for the Eagles. Now, if he wins the starting job opposite Darius Slay, that means Maddox, thankfully, will be moved inside where he'll be best. He's not an outside corner. They learned that the hard way. But they cannot be done at corner here. They've got to do something in free agency. It's not a great overall list. There are 3 or 4 guys worth exploring. But the problem is the Eagles don't have the cap space. This is so rare for the Eagles staff to have to talk about cap space in May, but it is absolutely a problem right now for that team.
And I guess 2 things on that. One, Howie did bring up, hey, in 2017, we needed a corner, and we traded for one in August. So they might not do this, keep in mind, until August.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, good luck.
Right.
Yeah,
that was the Ronald Darby trade.
And I get it. And it is true. It's a fact. But thinking you could just wait till August to trade for a starting corner, that's just not – it's just not realistic. I'm not saying it can't happen, but that would surprise me if some team is willing to go up the starting corner. Teams just don't do this. Now, the reason why the Bills did, I remember talking to them at the day of the trade, they did not think Darby fit their defense. That's why Sean McDermott wanted him off the team. It had nothing to do with his ability. It was that he didn't fit their scheme, and they were going to move him. And, boy, the Eagles fleeced them. Boy, they got a draft pick in Jordan Matthews, and Jordan Matthews was hurt with them. He never worked out.
Yeah, Jordan Matthews in a 3rd-round pick went to Buffalo for Ronald Darby. Remember, Darby got hurt, missed half the season, and then ended up coming back. They win the Super Bowl. Now, let me ask, maybe they don't make a trade that late, but do they explore that in the next couple weeks?
I mean, these talks go on all year, Mike. It's not like they decide not to talk to teams, but the urgency, as GMs tell me, rarely is in May and June. You might do something right at the start of training camp because you want to kind of get an idea of who you're going to have. There's rarely any trades from May and June. I mean, you might see 1 or 2 around the NFL. Right. It's just you'll get some extensions done. It would be surprising if something got done because teams just simply what they're trying to do is get the rookies signed. And actually, what's going to happen, and we saw it this week, Mike. Some veterans are still getting cut around the NFL because the rookies are going to take their job.
What about? Are you surprised about Ertz and what happens next there?
Look, he's on the roster. That's what I'm telling people. Keep asking me. Right now, he's on the roster. I do not expect him to be on the roster in the fall. We'll see what happens. The issue is not a lack of interest. There's interest in him. One team told me last week when they backed out of the deal. This is going back in earlier in free agency. They this high-ranking team source from a team that had interest in him said that they couldn't make the money work. He's making $8.5 million. That's his salary. And if you're Zach Ertz, I'm sure he's not going to want to take a pay cut. So that is, to me, going to be the one issue that's in there going forward here. If they do move him, I'll be fascinated to see how much he's willing to take or what the other team is willing to take. Or they want to pay $8.5 million, that other team. And by the way, there's some teams that did not draft a tight end or did not solve their tight end issues. So that's, I'm sure, where the Eagles will look at, because Moshe reported the Bills had interest, but it was not likely to happen. The Panthers, we heard, had interest. They filled it. Forget about them. They drafted Tommy Tremble. There's no way they're trading for him now. Ertz. So the list is dwindling for teams that needed tight end. That's kind of where we're at here. But again, we're in May. We're not in August or September.
All right. Adam Caplan, the new Inside the Birds podcast dropped this morning. So make sure, if you haven't, check that out. And they discuss a variety of topics on there, one of which I want to kind of get into is this defensive line, because they drafted 4 defensive linemen in this particular draft. And Roseman said, as long as I'm in charge, we're going to draft offense and defensive linemen. Well, that's what they did. They drafted 2 tackles and 2 ends in this draft. So how do you see the roles of those guys in this particular scheme?
Yeah, so Milton Williams will be a DN and a D tackle. I would assume he'll play a nickel inside. Now, here's the thing with Milton Williams. Way shorter arms than you want as a D tackle. They have to figure out what his weight is going to be playing in the National Football League. He's got work on technique to go through here. He played at a lower level college football, so this is going to be a big jump for him. His tape last season was outstanding. His workout numbers were off the hook. Analytics play into that, and I get it. But this is a big jump for him. He's not guaranteed to play every week. We'll have to see what happens with him, but he's a fun player to watch. And Tupelotu, let's go to the 6th round pick. He's a very interesting player. He should have been higher. In fact, when you hear that a player had higher grades from a team, that means that more than one grade was turned in. Like generally for a guy that is drafted in the 1st round, there'll be 6 or 8 grades turned in. The area scout, the personnel director, the assistant college director, the college director, the general manager, the over-the-top scout, the national scout. So with Tupelotu, he had more than one grade, and the guy should have been higher. He should have gone in probably the 3rd or 4th round. He just dropped down because he's more of an inside tackle, not a great pass rusher with some upside as a pass rusher. This seems to be a good value for him. Moshe reported that they're looking for a guy who could play the nose. They're different. There are very few old-fashioned nose tackles. Defensive tackles now are rarely right over the center. They're shaded. They're used all different sorts of ways. This kid, I'm told, could do that. And then the other 6th round of Taron Jackson, Coastal Carolina. I don't see him dressing this season unless he has a great training camp. And then Patrick Johnson's going to be an outside linebacker. He has really good pass rush upside, I'm told. He is an interesting player. We don't know how he's going to play Sam linebacker most likely, but we do wonder, depending on what front they use. They're a 43 front, but depending on what they use a nickel, how he'll line up. So between Williams, Tupelotu, Jackson. Now Johnson is technically an outside linebacker, so he wouldn't be a D lineman. Again, it just depends on how they want to use it.
All right. What about Jacoby Stevens? Do you anticipate him being a linebacker or a safety?
Linebacker, yeah. Okay. Now, what I want to explain to people is this. This is what coaches tell me. Every year when you draft someone late, you have an idea how you want to use him. Right now, he's going to be a linebacker. We'll see what happens. We'll see how he performs in training camp. This one is open-ended to me. First, they're going to try him at linebacker. If it doesn't work, he'll move back to safety. He could be a hybrid player like Malcolm Jenkins. Who knows? Mm-hmm. This is a 6th rounder who's got to earn his keep. Fans love running with stuff. Oh, well, he's going to be the new Malcolm Jenkins. Let's slow your roll there. Let's just see what happens. People, I love it. People are so excited. My guy Kenny Gainwell. I mean, no one more in front of this one for the draft. I gotta call my Jets. We're gonna have a special guest. I'm not gonna announce it. Someone connected to Gainwell. We're gonna have one inside the Birds at some point. But Gainwell is a very interesting player. Keep an eye on him. But, defensively, Mike, it's going to be completely different from the wide nine. It's just that's gone. I mean, they might maybe use 10 snaps a game in the wide nine, but in general, the wide nine is gone. It's a whole new ballgame now on defense for the Eagles.
Adam Caplan, Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. So let me get your take and what you've been hearing about what they're going to do with Dickerson. Is he going to be ready to play?
Yeah.
Is he in the mix to play right off the bat? I mean, is he in a competition with Kelsey, Sayamala, or do they just view him as backup insurance right now?
Yeah, I was told that they're going to cross-train him. He will be Kelsey's eventual replacement. I would say 99.9% chance that Kelsey's retired after the season, but as one source connected to the extension said that if Jason wants to come back, he'll have to get a new deal because there's a $30 million poison pill in the second year.
Wow.
There's a roster bonus, which both sides knew doing it, that this would have to make them redo the deal. So both sides, it was kind of comical how they put this in there. You never know with Jason Kelsey. He looks at every season, he decides he wants to come back, but Dickerson 1,000% was drafted to be his replacement whenever Jason retires. They're going to cross-train him. They don't know exactly when he'll be ready. They do believe he'll be able to play this season, and that's kind of where it is.
Yeah, I mean, and he talked about, look, this was a guy we had a high grade on. He talked about the injuries and how it's different. Yeah. Was it just clear-cut that was the best player available at 37?
No, there were other really good players there, but they had such a high grade on this. This kid, I know you can't take away injuries, but for the sake of this conversation, we are. He's a top 20 player without it. You never talk about a center like that. This guy, size, strength, intelligence, he's not Jason Kelsey as an athlete, but he's athletic enough. Leadership, incredible. This guy eats and breathes football, okay? The fans will fall in love with him. I just hope he could stay healthy because he has a chance to be, if the knees hold up, and I'm not kidding about this, a 5 to 6 time Pro Bowler. This kid might be one of the best gifted centers in the last 20 years to come out of college football. But again, you can't ignore 2 ACLs, 1 right, 1 left. This latest one I'm told is left. 2 ankle surgeries. You just don't know if he's going to last. Who knows?
He's a large man to play center, by the way.
I know, and that's another thing, Mike. I'm glad you brought that up. He's a little bit bigger than you want at center.
Or guard for that matter.
Cross-trained at guard.
Right. He's 6
What's
foot.
That?
Or guard for that. To be 6'6" and play guard, that's a big man.
Well, guard. Todd Herman's played guard. I remember talking to Todd when he was a rookie, and they had him put on weight, take off weight, and we'll see. This kid Dickerson's an unbelievable prospect, but you can't ignore the injury history.
That's right. I'll leave you with this, Adam Caplan. What is your take on what happens with Aaron Rodgers?
I think it's only going to get uglier. I put a pretty interesting scoop out, Mike, last week when this ESPN story broke. It's just very quickly here. Last season, it was not a secret if you really knew the team that Rodgers was unhappy despite how well he was doing being an MVP. So a source from one of the opponents told me that either during a timeout, maybe at some point during a game, he went over to the opponent's huddle, didn't get in it, of course, went over to the defense and said, "Get me out of here." To the opponent, "Get me out of here." Think about that, Mike. This guy clearly was miserable because he clearly doesn't trust the front office, obviously the general manager, and he was furious. And it didn't affect his play. It actually motivated him to be great. Only if Carson Wentz felt the same way, but nevertheless, he clearly wants out. And the end game is this. If Aaron Rodgers holds true to truly holding out, not showing up to mandatory OTAs is not a big deal, although he'd be fined for that. If you don't show up to training camp based on the fines, you're serious, and then it's on. And I do believe they'll wind up moving him. If he does not show up to training camp, I do believe to answer your question, I do believe.
And earlier you hinted that Philadelphia would make that call.
I did?
Well, you said that if he was going to be moved, they would be involved in that call.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know. I didn't hear what we were talking about.
Come on.
I don't know about that one.
All right. Because I was a little surprised by that.
No, I don't think I said that.
Because Philadelphia does have the ammunition to make that deal, though.
Well, look, they were in on Watson to start free agency. It wasn't just right before the bad stuff came out on Watson, the alleged stuff. I was told they were in at the beginning of free agency after one trade was completed. They were in on Watson. We've known on and off they've had this far away love affair with Russell Wilson, but the Seahawks are not making him really available technically. But Jalen Hurts is going to be the starter this season. For Jalen Hurts, they had to get through the draft. They had to pass on Fields, which is quarterback. If they would have traded for a quarterback, it would have been Fields. I feel pretty strongly about that. But they didn't. They went with a receiver, and there you go.
That's it. They would have the ammunition to make an offer for Rodgers. They have possibly 3 first.
Rodgers? No, you just asked me what do I think will happen with him.
I'm saying.
I do believe he'll be gone. I do believe he'll.
If the Eagles wanted to make an offer, though, they have enough ammunition to make an offer.
They do theoretically, but here's the problem, Mike. Denver, I said Denver would be in on it, not the Eagles.
There you go.
I said Denver. Okay?
Gotcha.
But theoretically, do they? Yes. But again, they would have competition. Now, I've gone through all 32 teams. The Raiders would make sense. Derek Carr's got 2 years left on his deal, no guaranteed money. How could you not be? I don't care that he's 37, going on 38. Why would you not, if you're a team, be interested in Aaron Rodgers? He's a super type A. He can be challenging to deal with, but Mike, this guy's a once-in-a-lifetime player. But he has to guarantee that team he wants to play till he's 40, though. You can't like redo his deal and him decide he's going to walk away in 2 years.
All right, Adam Caplan, check out Inside the Birds. The latest pod dropped this morning at 6. A new one will be out Monday morning, 6 a.m., and the NFL draft in the books. Great stuff, as always, from the Inside the Birds guys, and he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Hotline. Adam, take care, pal.
You got it. See it.
All right, there he goes. Adam Caplan, Inside the Birds, the new podcast out right now.